Ladies and gentlemen, as Georg already mentioned, the collaboration with Appian is now ongoing for around about 2 years, and I'm really delighted to share with you today one of our key success stories, how we significantly reduced our time to yes, one of the most important KPI factors in the loan process for our small and medium enterprises. To set the stage right, I'd like to focus on 3 topics a little bit. First of all, I would like to give you a little bit of an overview of Addiko's profile. We're not we're not really a household name, I would assume, for most of you, so I'd like to give you a bit of an overview who we are and where we operate. Talk a little bit in a second step, what is the digital use case? So how do we see in Addiko the digital story evolve in our markets, and finally mention how we made it or how we accomplished to reduce the time to yes within Appian. So before we get started, quick overview on who we are. Addiko is really a so-called pure play SEE banking network. SEE in this case stands for Southeastern Europe, so we are really the only bank in the region who is solely present in this area. We were acquired by Advent International, a fund, and EBRD in parallel in July 2015. And around about 2016, the new brand Addiko was introduced to the market. Currently, we are operating in 6 banks in 5 different countries. So you have us with a presence in Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, so both entities, Federation and Banja Luka, Serbia and Montenegro. However, the headquarter is in Vienna, and we have a total of, taking all countries into consideration as well, of around about 3,000 FTEs, and we service around about 1 million customers through our 200 branches in the region. When we introduced our brand, we set from the very beginning a strict focus on retail, so private individuals and SME customers. So we repositioned and rebranded ourselves as really Addiko, the straightforward bank, and we wanted to communicate a new image that stands for focus on the essentials, deliver on efficiency, and really communicate simplicity. So this is really in our DNA. I'm happy to share that also this translated quite well already into visible increases in our core business areas. So I took here as an example, you can see the cash loans and the SME loans, and you see quite a steady progress on those ones, meaning that our key messages apparently resonate quite well with our customer base. In parallel, we were very early on focusing on modernizing our distribution channels. By that I mean both the offline but as well as the online channels. And so we, as any bank in the region, or as a matter of fact in the whole world does, we right-sized and resized our branch network. So we closed some of the shops, reduced them from around about 230 to around about 200 branches today, and also introduced the first time the so-called express branches format. So those are branches that have a smaller footprint on the one hand side, but also focus largely on communicating the digital capabilities. On top of that, a very good and a strong focus was set on the introduction of a completely revamped online and mobile banking experience. And also, we are the first bank in the market in this area who introduced a new chat banking feature on Viber. For those of you who don't know Viber as an application, this is kind of WhatsApp, but more popular in the Balkan area where we are operating. After all, I'm delighted to share with you that around about 1/3 of all our transactions, both PI and on the SME side, are today executed via one of those digital channels. So be it online banking, mobile banking, or chat banking. After all, our whole corporate digital strategy is based on 3 pillars. We want to service the customers more efficiently. We want to acquire them digitally, and most of all, we also want to excite our customers. So really in line with our branding strategy, we want to introduce new markets and services to our customers that really makes banking exciting for them again. At the centerpiece of this, we introduced just the beginning of this year a completely revamped corporate e-banking system that is heavily focused on convenience. Believe it or not, some of you who are self-employed or have the responsibilities to go every now and then to a branch, you cannot imagine how cumbersome and how annoying it can be to actually visit a branch and how time-consuming it can be. And we really would like to take this burden off of the shoulders of our customers by introducing a completely new platform that's based on a responsive web design, so it scales beautifully from the big screen to the small screen, and also enable us to stay true to our three main pillars: service, acquire, and excite. So that's a bit of an introduction to who we are as Addiko. We are certainly, as you could see, not the, let's say, the largest animal in the zoo, but we try to be the smartest. On the next slide, I'd like to really tell you a little bit, give you an overview on what is the digital use case for us as Addiko. What is the landscape? How does it look like in the area where we are operating? But I would even go one step further and say this is a kind of a snapshot of the landscape as a whole. So up until now, a few years recently, let's say our main competition has been the traditional banks. So the Raiffeisens, the PBCs, the Erste Banks, and so forth on the market. Right now, or as of not so long distant future ago, past ago, new players were entering the market. So I just read it on another day in one of the smart papers from Appian, GAFA, so Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. I would add here the airline industry as well. All of us flew here, so nobody, I guess, went to the counter and had themselves checked in, but rather we did it online or even via our mobile phone. I think this is also a tremendous success, how they managed to actually transform us as the customers to become more self-service oriented. What is even more important is that most of the processes today are really not optimized for the customer. And this is really in line with what we heard today in the morning, but also yesterday from the CEO. They are rather optimized for in our case, for the bank, so for the legal department, the IT department, the risk department, but they are not really customer-centric processes. That's kind of strange because, believe it or not, also B2B customers are human beings in the end, and they obviously judge you not by how great other SME banks are doing their business, but they really judge you how fast does a process go on Amazon, how fast can I order something on Amazon. So this is really the bar you need to reach. So two questions that pop up here is, how many touch points does a customer have today for really basic scenarios? And question number two is, can we somehow shorten them? What is the fastest way from A to B, and how can we make it possible for the customer? How can we make this real? So after all, we really need to focus on a so-called customer-centric strategy through all product, service, and the channel design. I did some research recently, and just to give you some quotations from actual customers, but also in this case from reports, usual suspects, the Mintels, the Accentures, Bain. So what are the, let's say, the pain points for SME customers in the SEE region right now? First of all, completely limited digital functionality. We are not Western Europe, where we are operating. People obviously have their smartphones down there as well, but still, let's say, the digital nativeness is still far away from France, Germany, even Austria. So what we want to do here is enable self-service capabilities via digital banking, and we want to, in parallel, reduce the dependency on the branch managers. Second one, finding reputable advice. So it's hard to find some trustworthy partner in our region. And the number one feedback we received from our customers is, whatever you do on the digital side, please don't take away the relationship manager. There is a high probability that I've been banking with this guy for almost 10 years and longer. So rather than taking away this channel from us, please support him by removing administrative work off his shoulders, and rather enable him to focus more on the sales-oriented side. And thirdly and lastly, processes today are really time-consuming and complex. So we set early on a strong focus on removing all the clutter from the customer's process, and as I just said before, focus on a customer-centric, lean online process. Taking this into consideration, as I already said, so customers really love their relationship manager. So we want to maintain this service. It was never our goal and will not be our goal to get rid of our relationship manager network, but really just to put a different set of focus activities for them. We believe that, let's say, the core fundamentals, the core business of SME banking will be transformed to digital, yes, but rather we need to focus on self-service capabilities here. Very clear from our side, we believe in a peaceful coexistence of both offline and online distribution. That means we want to have a seamless coexistence and a seamless transition between each channels. Next, trial fast, fail fast. After all, we are a bank. We are not a software house. So there's a high probability with whatever exciting new products or services we want to introduce to our customer base, some of them will just not resonate with our customers. And it's important for us internally to just clarify for us, it's okay to fail. It's just a matter of how many times more do you get up. And last but not least, we want to improve really the customer experience by ensuring a coherent digital strategy across all customer touchpoints, online, mobile, and the branch. In a nutshell, we dubbed this as a so-called embrace digital strategy, and this is what we had in mind when we were building our 2 Appian processes. So how did we reduce the time to yes now? Before I get to that, just once more, what was our starting point? Where did we start? As I already said, we're not the biggest animal in the zoo, so we have rather a lean network of relationship managers on the one hand side and also on branches. So we are not the Raiffeisens, the Zagrebačka bankers of the world. Given our history and our legacy, I'm sure some of you know about that, we also have a kind of a granular risk profile. So our risk appetite is not as high as it used to be. Still, we see great potential from a business perspective in terms of net commission income. And when Advent took over, we said enough with all those public deals, let's focus on the real economy. Let's support the customer where he is in his or her company. On the second side, there's right now a set of great opportunities. We witness on a daily basis in interaction with our customer, there's a generation change going on right now in the boardrooms of whatever company we are operating and dealing with. Most of the cases, or in many cases, these are family-owned businesses run in the 2nd or 3rd generation, and with this current CEO or current leadership team about to retire, and also in many cases handing it over to their sons or daughters. This generation, however, is also attached to a digital wave. So they are, as we would call it, digital natives. They're used to using their smartphone, their tablet devices. So it's not something you need to onboard them with. They are already there. In parallel, they also used, as I said before, to the Amazons and Facebooks of the world. So there's really a heavy focus on convenience. They don't accept anymore that a loan decision takes 6 days, 7 days, 10 days. They want this now. And they want this fast. And on a political level, those countries where we are operating in are still either already EU member states or about to become. So we see here an acceleration of EU integration as well, which in terms of a regulative perspective also makes doing business there much easier. So we combined this kind of starting points with our innovation approach, and obviously we had a lot of ideas floating around ourselves. I mean, there's a reason why we get a salary, and but in parallel we also did a primary and secondary research. So we really went the extra mile in this case and interviewed customers, both from the small hairdresser shop to the large petrol station network, and said, where are your pain points right now? How can we help you have a better banking experience with us? And we selected out of this so-called 18 lighthouse features. We did a kind of business school one-on-one graph and mapped them depending on what has the greatest customer impact, what has the least implementation effort, what has the best business objective impact. And based on that, we selected 3 lighthouse features for this year that we want to bring to the market. Transactional banking, focus on transactional banking. We have this covered with our new e-banking platform, but more importantly for today's presentation or today's session, digital end-to-end loans and digital trade finance products. So we believe by setting the stage right here, we have a unique offering in our markets. We offer a seamless and fast digital integration, keeping in mind that previously most of the processes were fully pen and paper based. A big deal for our customers, but also for us as a bank, is full transparency. Believe it or not, we were somewhat flying in the dark, and the whole process landscape was more or less a black box. Not only for us, but more importantly for the customer. So maybe you made the experience yourself when you were applying for a mortgage or a loan or anything else. You basically hand over, you do a strip down, you hand over your documentation to your relationship manager, and then what? Nobody knows where is the documentation. Is this posted on Facebook somewhere? What do they do bank internally with it? And after a couple of days, where whatever else happens, somebody gives you a call, yes, you're good or you're not good for getting this loan. With Appian, we are really able to have full transparency here, both bank internally, but also offering this transparency to the customer. So the customer feels back in the driver's seat again. We have significantly reduced handling cost and time. So that's, again, positive from a business perspective, but also from a customer perspective. As I said before, the next generation of CEOs, they don't want to wait another week. They want to have the decision now. And obviously, this results in improved profitability. So what did we do in terms of credit process improvement? It's not all software, as we heard today, but it's also a lot of background work. I chuckled a little bit when the colleague from Gartner was doing his presentation in the morning, because I really identified myself with all the challenges that were presented here. We went through exactly the same phases. So first, we focused on lean management. We did a total of 152 country-specific actions in order to bring the offline, the existing process down to and narrow it down. We differentiated between the loan processes. So we differentiate between what is a simple, what is a standard, what is a complex loan. After all, it became clear to us that the majority of our client base actually requires small amounts. But instead of taking a lean approach here and trying to have a dedicated loan approval process for those small amounts, we always took the same approach as if the client was taking 10 million plus euros. So we're really wasting our resources here. So we focused on simple and standard products. We introduced a category called Simple Loan. This is the product that we introduced to Appian, and the Simple Loan is up to a certain threshold of 250,000 euros. This is the majority of our SME customers' daily needs. In parallel, we have more time for sales to reduce the administration. So we significantly also reduced the touch points in bank internally between the various departments, and also focused on small tickets and frame products such as guarantee, revolving loan utilization. Supportive in all of those initiatives was really Appian as a platform and Appian as a software. When we first met, Dirk, you were bragging, I would say, a little bit about the low-code capability of the platform, and we were kind of skeptical, is this just a marketing gig, or is this what is behind that? But I have to say, after cooperating now intensely and working with the software, this is really a low-code experience. So what that means is you don't need a specific set of pre-knowledge to design processes or workflows. You don't need to be a hardcore developer in order to bring a certain process to life. It's scalable. That was also very important for us from the beginning. So you can utilize it from, I always jokingly say, everything from travel application to loan disbursement. So that means we're not buying a single purpose piece of software, but really a software that can be scaled throughout the organization. Future-proof, because we want to actually make Appian the customer-facing software here as well. And without going too much into detail, our plan is also that external customers will be able to onboard via Appian and become Addiko customers. Keen also in terms of resources. I guess everyone has restrained resources, especially in the IT area. It's out-of-the-box deployable to mobile and to the web, so there's no need to come up and develop a dedicated application that works out of the box. And as I said before, we are able to capture for the first time really detailed performance metrics. So you can really see on each process step, where is a bottleneck, how can we bypass this one, where is something where we might need to rethink the process all over again. And for our audit friends from Barclays yesterday, for example, there's a complete audit trail available. So you instantly see who clicked what when, maybe not why, but at least you get to see who clicked what. Our application, our two applications, so end-to-end loan and trade finance products, is now live since end of June 2018. We have a total of a 3-step loan process and a 4-step trade finance application. And please don't make the mistake and see this through the retail banking perspective. This is pretty standard for a retail banking loan application. But if you've ever seen how complex a trade finance application right now is in a bank, this is really a game changer. Yeah? So we standardized the hell out of it. We tried really to bring this and make this as a lean process as possible. And I'm happy to share with you that our customer feedback is really off the charts. So they've never seen something like that before, making such a complex set of products so simple. A lot of it has to do with automation. You can see here in the lower right-hand corner, in this case, that's the financial check that we completely automatized. So for each checkbox that you see here, there was at least one guy doing a manual check. This is now done, boom, within a couple of seconds or minutes, fully automatically. So is the whole ownership structure, blockage check, the rating check, credit bureau check. So all of this is very beneficial in terms of time saving, but also in terms of customer-centric strategy, because it takes just far less time to handle a loan application or a guarantee than it used to be before. The only manual task that are still alive is really the whole KYC, so know your customer procedure. We are offering, as I said in the very beginning, those two products only for existing clients as of today. Obviously, we have a more aggressive schedule in the future. And the contract signature. Why don't we do this electronically? Because you need to have a qualified digital certificate for that. And in the countries where we operate, this is not market standard yet, but rather a vector on the ascendancy. So what did we achieve so far with the help of Appian-based process? We had from the beginning of the project, before the project, we had a time to yes. So time to yes means in banking language, from the requests submitted, from when it is submitted until the request is approved. So until your relationship manager gives you a call and says, Georg, you're good to go, you get the loan. We had roughly, and this is the optimistic version, 7 days time to yes. And we thought when we were starting the project, our short-term goal within 6 months, we would like to be down to 3 days. And after a year or so, down to 1 or 2 days. I'm really excited to share with you that after, what is it now, 3 months on the market, we are already down to below 1 day. So that's really a game changer. We are down to 24 hours in the majority of our cases. The customer gets a positive or sometimes also a negative feedback, but at least he gets a feedback, right? Same with the time to cash. So before the project, until the money gets dispersed on the account, it took almost 4 weeks. Imagine this, a full month until you get your money. Here the short-term goal was also very aggressive. We wanted to be within 6 months. We wanted to achieve round about a week. And in the long term, so also after a year or so, we wanted to achieve it to come down to 1 to 2 days. Also here, I'm incredibly excited to share with you that we are down to 1-2 days already now after 3 months. Yeah? So we developed those two applications within 9 months. Yeah? It took us some time. Why? Because, as I said, we wanted to go the extra mile and rethink from a blank canvas how could this process look like if there was no existing process in place. We implemented this right now in Slovenia and in Serbia. Other countries are going to follow within our network in the next year. We do on a monthly basis right now, but actually you could do it theoretically also on a daily basis. Real-time tracking via so-called Appian KPI dashboard. That's how I'm able to report you those great numbers here. We deployed iPads to all our SME centers. So the goal is here also in terms of customer-centric strategy, don't hide in the branches, really get the relationship manager out of his branch and let's visit the customer on site. So the applications can be both done via the PC or via the iPad in the field. Our goal, as I already mentioned, is that within 2019, customers should be able to request fully online, so fully end-to-end, one of those two products via their e-banking system. And I have an update actually to that figure, so we already dispersed over 8 million euro within the last 90 days. After all, our goal is really to disperse the majority of our loans via the Appian platform. In the end, it really comes down to, again, focusing on the customer. What is the most convenient process? Traditional banks right now offer, I don't know, between 5 to 10 steps a process where you have to visit the branch, you have to do a financial stripping of all your data. Maybe you even have to provide them some blood samples, I don't know. You have then, most probably, there's a high probability that you forgot something, so you have to come back to your relationship manager, have to do a second meeting to submit the necessary documents. So it's really awkward and annoying. And we believe there's a better way to that. We believe that the loan process that we designed, those 3 easy steps, stays true to our simple and straightforward customer experience strategy. Our rule of thumb that we use in actually every meeting is, what if we only had this one customer? How long would it take to serve this one particular customer? And this is our benchmark that we want to achieve. I'm sure some of you are facing the same set of questions that we had as well. So I would like to leave you with a little bit of the lessons from our rollout here, what went well, and believe it or not, there are also some things that didn't go so well. So we are operating in various markets in various countries. There is a reason why they call it Balkanized. And the first feedback we received when we were introducing this project was, you cannot unify this, our processes are so different, and you will never bring this to one common denominator. True. So the legislation, the local IT systems, the setups, they are different between all the countries, but turns out that actually 80 to even more % of the process components can be fully standardized and aligned for all implementation. So for all of you who are in a similar situation, who happen to run a business across countries and who know what I'm talking about, hope is on the way. There's availability of data integrations. This is something that we underestimated a little bit. So we have to have an interface to the credit bureaus, to the financial checks, etc., etc. And this is really something that we underestimated in a sense that we thought, okay, this works somehow out of the box, and here we needed to go the extra mile and invest more time to hook up Appian to the existing legacy IT systems. We are still operating in an area where just the open API standard is not so available as it is in the Western Europe. Although we claimed for ourselves that we are already an agile company, actually it turned out that we are not so agile, and a lot throughout the project had to do with a complete mindset change. So when we were saying and discussing with our colleagues, this is going to be held in an agile methodology, this project, they were saying, yeah, we know that. When you start actually working in an agile methodology with them, they were at first a little bit overwhelmed of what that means on a, let's say, daily involvement and so forth. So I encourage you to really focus here on this change management perspective and force this mindset change, because in the end it pays off in terms of enabling and deliver a solution faster. And last but not least, really go the extra mile and invest heavily in defining the optimal process in the beginning. I cannot stress this out enough. So from the beginning we said we do not just want to copy-paste existing process over and just call it digital, but we really rethought it from scratch, and the so-called to-be process should be first and most important step in your journey. In a nutshell, I am happy to share with you that actually Appian helped us here to overcome any of the above challenges by offering a smooth integration to legacy systems, a fast integration execution, and after all, process transparency unheard of. Thank you very much.